Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in on this Monday show as we kick off another week. Lots to cover, of course. This could be a very important week in getting President Trump's big, beautiful bill through the Senate. Reports are there are potentially 6 senators who could stall the bill. We'll tell you who they are in today's show. An Egyptian national who came into the country 2 years ago and overstayed his visa has been charged in the gruesome terror attack that left 6 people injured in Boulder, Colorado over the weekend. And trans athlete AB Hernandez, a young man pretending to be a girl, took several girls' track and field state championships in California over the weekend, even as parents protested him competing in the girls' state championship. Meanwhile, up the road in Oregon, a pair of girls' track and field athletes did not stand on the winner's podium alongside another transgender athlete for high jump at the Oregon State Championships on Saturday night. We have that story as well. And a 4 South Carolina death row inmate has opted to die by lethal injection following concerns over the firing squad.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Let's start with the gruesome attack in Boulder, Colorado over the weekend. An Egyptian national who is said to have come into the country 2 years ago and, of course, overstayed his visa. He's been charged in the terror attack that left 6 people injured in Boulder. Mohammed Sabri Solomon, he's 45 years old. He was arrested at the scene after he allegedly set his victims on fire as they peacefully rallied on behalf of Israeli hostages who are still being held by Hamas in Gaza. Solomon was heard yelling "Free Palestine" and other anti-Israel slogans during the attack on victims ranging in age from 67 to 88. Now, what a coward. This guy's 45 years old, and he's out there attacking senior citizens, basically. 67 to 88 is the age range of people he attacked. The violence started around 1:26 p.m. local time when Boulder police were called to the county courthouse after getting reports of a man who had a weapon and was setting people on fire. This according to Boulder Police Chief Steve Redfern. The attack took place near an event put on by Run for Their Lives, which is a grassroots group that organizes run and walk events calling for the release of Israeli hostages held since the October 7th, 2023 attack. The suspect was heard yelling, "How many children you killed? And we have to end Zionists. They are killers," according to an analysis of video of the scene. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser said the attack, which happened on the eve of a Jewish holiday, appears to have been motivated by hate. Well, I think so. He said in his statement, from what we know, this attack appears to be a hate crime given the group that was targeted. People may have differing views about world events and the Israeli-Hamas conflict, but violence is never the answer to settling the differences. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino said the attack is being investigated as an act of ideological motivated violence. based on early information, evidence, and witness accounts. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard confirmed that the National Counterterrorism Center is working with the FBI and local law enforcement on the ground. So all hands are on deck. They're taking this very seriously. Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement sources confirmed that Solomon is in the country illegally as a visa overstay. He, of course, came in during the Biden administration. According to the story, he allegedly flew into the U.S. on August 27th, 2022. He arrived at the Los Angeles International Airport on a B-1, B-2 non-immigrant visa. Solomon was authorized to stay through February 26th of 2023, but he never left. On September 29th, 2022, he filed a claim possibly for asylum. On March 29th of 2023, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services under the Biden administration gave him work authorization, which was valid through March of this year. Police initially evacuated 3 surrounding blocks and later expanded the evacuation area. Chief Redford said last night that the area was not safe yet as they were investigating a vehicle of interest. Colorado Governor Jared Polis, in a statement, described the attack as a heinous act of terror, saying, "I'm closely monitoring the situation in Boulder, and my thoughts go out to the people who have been injured and impacted by this heinous act of terror. Hate-filled acts of any kind are unacceptable. While details emerge, the state works with local and federal law enforcement to support this investigation," the governor said. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in a post on X, said, "Terror has no place in our great country." Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, said terrorism against Jews does not stop at the Gaza border, is already burning the streets of America. And there's other response, of course. All the politicians getting involved in responding to this horrible, horrible act. But also, other major cities around the country are paying attention. For example, New York City Police Department said last night that it's increasing the number of officers at religious sites for the Jewish holiday, saying, "We're monitoring the horrific attack in Colorado targeting an event for Israeli hostages. We'll continue to track this closely and protect our religious sites here in New York City." According to the story, Run for Their Lives meets weekly in neighborhoods across the world to quietly address Hamas hostages. It was started by a group of Israelis in the Bay Area in California. The attack comes less than 2 weeks after 2 Israeli embassy staffers were gunned down on May 21st in Washington, D.C. This was not the only violence over the weekend. It was a rough weekend. At least 1 person is dead. 11 others were injured after a mass shooting yesterday morning near Hickory, North Carolina, according to the Catawba County Sheriff's Office. In a Facebook post, the Sheriff's Office said, on Sunday at around 12:45 a.m., deputies with the Catawba County Sheriff's Office and officers with the Hickory Police Department responded to a report of multiple persons shot at a residence on Walnut Acres Drive, which is located in the Mountain View community of southwest Catawba County. As of this release, 12 victims have been reported. One of these reported victims is deceased. Another of these reported victims is in critical condition. Several remain hospitalized. They went on to say that the sheriff's investigators, along with investigators from the Hickory Police and special agents of the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, have been at the scene and are continuing to investigate. No arrests have been made as of late last night. And then in Greenville County Sheriff's Office said that a woman was found with at least 1 gunshot wound in a Greenville County parking lot. This happened around 2 a.m. Sunday in a parking lot on Cedar Lane Road. When deputies arrived, they said that they found a woman who had been shot. Deputies said the victim was taken to the hospital for treatment. Her condition is unknown, as there have not been any further updates. An active investigation is underway to determine the cause and motive behind the incident. According to deputies, a person of interest has been identified. And look, these are just a few examples. I could go on because it was just a violent weekend. And unfortunately, we're seeing this more and more. Why? I have no clue. Do you have any theories on why we seem to be having more violence? I mean, think about the Boulder, Colorado. The guy setting people on fire. And again, he's a fairly young man, 45 years old, and he's attacking older people. And then up in Hickory, someone just randomly, or at least it appears to be random, maybe there's a motive there that we're not aware of yet, but starts shooting, and 12 people are shot, one dead already, one critical condition. Others could have serious injuries as well. I mean, why do people do this? What is happening in our world that we see this type of violence in these cities? Help me out here. Text me. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Joey Hudson here. America is facing a health crisis, and the answer isn't more meds. I lost over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan without Ozempic or any weight loss shots. Don't settle for a lifetime of medication. GLP-1 injections like Ozempic help some people lose weight, but they come with side effects, high cost, and most gain it back when they stop. At PhD Weight Loss, we reveal Big Pharma's big secret. Your body already makes GLP-1, the appetite-fighting hormone. Our program helps your body make it naturally so you'll drop the pounds faster. With the PhD method, no side effects, no long-term risk, no rebound weight gain, just natural, lasting results, all without hunger or cravings. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. Discover your body's true potential without a shot. It's free and gives you the keys to your personalized plan. Do like I did and don't trade your health for a quick fix. Call now at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. It was the weekend of trans sports, even though President Trump signed an executive order banning men from women's sports. Some states are continuing to openly defy the threat of losing their federal funding. Let's start with a young man who received the most attention last week, leading up to the California State Championships on Saturday. Over the weekend, at the state championship meet, the top level of high school track. I mean, this is what these kids work year-round for. The state meets. A biological male, we talked about him last week, competing as a girl, took 2 state titles home. First place in the high jump, first place in the triple jump, and second place in the long jump. All of it under the girls category. The athlete, AB Hernandez, competing for Jurupa Valley High School and dominating the field in events that rely heavily on strength, speed, and explosive quick power. Now, here's the story. This comes, of course, just days after President Trump issued a clear warning to California to cut this out or face consequences. He even floated the possibility of pulling federal funding if the state insisted on going forward with letting a biological male compete against girls. They don't care. California's too concerned about this young man's feelings and his mother's feelings than the feelings of all the females that he has competed against and has taken their medals. Now, not only did California let it happen, they tried to paper over the outrage with some procedural Band-Aids. We talked about them a bit at the end of the week last week. The CIF, California Interscholastic Federation, put in emergency rules to, quote, accommodate the girls who lost. They expanded the medal count. They allowed additional female competitors to come to the championship. They even made room on the podium for the girls who would have placed higher if Hernandez had not been competing. Is this not just the craziest thing you've ever heard? They literally are giving away 2 awards in these categories. So for example, as I understand the way it worked, in a category like the triple jump, he won triple jump. So he was given an award, a medal, and then the biological female who came in second was also given a medal because she was the first place true biological female competing. So they went to all this trouble over this one young man, changed the whole program, because of this one young man. So imagine you train all year, you fight to qualify for the state championship, you give it everything you got, and you come up short. Not because you weren't good enough, but because a male athlete took your spot. And then the California Interscholastic Federation says, here's a medal anyway, kid. You get to stand next to the winner who shouldn't be here. I mean, let's be real. The girls are being erased, and the institutions enabling it want them to smile while it happens. They want them to think that it's normal. Now, predictably, this whole thing exploded at the meet. Protests broke out. Some got loud. Some got physical. There were Save the Girls sports banners flying overhead, being pulled by airplanes. One conservative activist was even assaulted with a flagpole by an opposing protester and had to be hospitalized. Arrests were made. And yet, the California Interscholastic Federation, their biggest problem, it wasn't the violence. It didn't seem to be the controversy. It was a young woman handing out bracelets that said, Save Girls Sports. She got escorted out of the stadium like she was a problem. Now think about that. She's giving out these bracelets that says Save Girls Sports, and she is given a police escort out of the stadium. You can compete in the girls' event as a biological male, and the adults in charge will bend over backwards to accommodate you. But if you show up with a message saying, let girls compete against girls, you're the one they drag out of the stadium. Now, just how crazy and how backward is that? And by the way, where's the Governor Gavin Newsom during all this? Well, the good governor, who has publicly said that males competing in female sports is, in his words, deeply unfair, sat on his hands and did nothing. Crickets. Nothing. He allowed it. He enabled it. And now his state is under investigation by the Department of Justice and the Department of Education. And I hope they pursue it. I hope this just wasn't threats when the Department of Justice on Thursday of last week said, we're opening an investigation. I hope they follow through with it. Because this isn't just California's problem anymore. This same weekend, trans athletes won girls' championships in 4 other states: Maine, Washington, Oregon, and Minnesota. This is a nationwide trend, and if we don't stop it now, we won't have girls' sports at all in a few years. Not the real ones anyway, not fair ones. Look, this isn't about hate. It's not about exclusion. It's about truth, fairness, and biology. If you were born a male with the advantages that come with male puberty, bone density, lung capacity, muscle mass, you do not belong in female sports. Period. End of story. Where are the adults in the room? President Trump said it best when he signed the executive order saying keep men out of women's sports isn't a radical idea. It's common sense. It's basic fairness. And yet states like California are treating it like it's some extremist crusade. Folks, we got to wake up. This is about more than high school medals. It's about girls losing scholarships. It's about women being sidelined. It's about what kind of country we're going to be, one where truth matters, or one where we destroy fairness in the name of ideology. We want to be fair. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. Wow. Look, California made its choice. They chose to ignore science, ignore parents, ignore the athletes themselves, and ignore the President of the United States. And now, let's see what the consequences are. Let's hope there are some. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. So over the weekend, we had a visitor in South Carolina, in the Palmetto State. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz took to the mic in South Carolina, gave his party some very direct advice. You want to hear it? You know what the governor thinks Democrats should be doing? He thinks they should be a little meaner. He said it's time Democrats start bullying the you-know-what out of Donald Trump. His words, not mine. Here's the governor.
Maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. And again, I'll speak to my teacher colleagues in here. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully. to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully out of him back. You push back. Damn it, we should be able to have some fun and be joyful.
Boy, we dodged that bullet, didn't we? Can you imagine if he was vice president of the United States and Kamala was president? I mean, let's get real here. This wasn't some offhand comment. This was the keynote speech at the South Carolina State Democrat Convention, delivered by a sitting governor who's been floated as a potential 2028 presidential contender. And, of course, already run as Kamala Harris's VP pick in 2024. This was calculated. Now, Walsh tried to dress it up with a little classroom nostalgia, saying when it's a child, you explain bullying, the analogy he gave. But that's not leadership. That's playground politics dressed up in progressive credentials. He also called Trump a wannabe dictator, a threat, and then threw Elon Musk into the mix for good measure, because apparently if you left the Biden administration, you're now a target too. You don't beat a so-called bully by trying to out-bully him. If he really thought Donald Trump was a bully, that's exactly what he's trying to do, right? I mean, wouldn't you want to beat him with your ideas? Wouldn't you want to beat him with results? Wouldn't you want to beat him with voters, not with a megaphone and middle school insults? But they know they can't. Tim Walz has already been beaten by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Democrats keep saying they want to raise the tone. They say Trump is toxic. But every time they're losing ground, they come right back with this kind of rhetoric. Let's be meaner. Let's fight dirty. I mean, what happened to the unity that Joe Biden talked about? What happened to healing the soul of the nation that Kamala Harris and those were talking about at the Democrat convention not even less than a year ago? It's all out the window when the polling dips and they start panicking. They're in a panic. And let's be honest, this isn't just about South Carolina or Tim Walz. This is the 2028 audition tour. You've got Walz, Wes Moore, Governor Gavin Newsom, and a handful of others all looking to position themselves as the so-called fighter of the Democrat Party for the left, someone who can stand up to Trump or whatever Republican happens to be in office by then. But here's a little advice for the Democrats. If your whole message is, we need to be meaner, you've already lost the argument. You're not giving people hope. You're giving them hostility. You're not offering solutions. You're offering sound bites, and Americans are tired of it. Americans are tired of the Democrats who are always negative about things, always attacking. But yet, if a Republican had said this, imagine the outcry from the Democrats, from the mainstream media. If Donald Trump had said, we need to be a little meaner, it'd be headlines. Look, the voters who swung elections, especially in the Midwest and suburbs with working class men and women, they're not looking for a party that wants to be meaner. They're looking for someone who knows what a gallon of gas costs, who sees the southern border mess for what it is, who understands what it means when inflation hits a single mom or a retired couple, who doesn't think that boys should be competing in girls' sports, who recognizes how crazy it is that California officials are literally tiptoeing around this Hernandez young man who wants to compete in girls' sports because he can't compete in boys' sports. That's the Democrat Party. Being meaner doesn't fix that. So maybe instead of telling your party to act tough, Governor Walz, start acting smart. Get real on the issues. Cut the moral superiority. And stop pretending that political violence is okay when it comes from your side. Because if your best pitch for 2028 is let's be meaner than Trump, then you're not running a campaign. You're running a tantrum. This could be a big week for President Trump's sweeping tax and domestic policy as it enters a critical stretch in the Senate. 6 Republican senators emerge as potential roadblocks to final passage, each raising concerns that could derail the legislation before the July 4th target date that President Trump has set. So here's the situation. Here's the story. Senate Republicans are bracing themselves for a showdown over President Trump's top domestic priority, a sweeping tax and policy package. It narrowly cleared the House last week. Now it faces intense scrutiny in the upper chamber. And that's a whole different ballgame than the U.S. House of Representatives. Senate Majority Leader John Thune has just 3 votes, has a 3-vote margin to pass the legislation, which aims to extend key tax provisions, overhaul Medicaid, and roll back energy tax incentives. However, several GOP senators, from moderates to some who are considered staunch conservatives, are publicly airing concerns that could threaten the party's ability to send a bill to Trump's desk by Independence Day. So who are they? At the top of the list, Senator Lisa Murkowski. Are you surprised? Probably not. She's voiced worries about the feasibility of implementing Medicaid work requirements in Alaska, calling parts of the bill very, very, very challenging, if not impossible, she said, due to outdated state systems. Murkowski is also concerned about the impact on tribal communities and the proposed elimination of wind, solar, and geothermal tax credits. Now, why would she be concerned about work requirements in her state? Why is Alaska any different? This is what's wrong with our government and with our programs when you have a U.S. Senator like Murkowski who thinks it's not a good idea to have work requirements on Medicaid and other government programs. Let's move on. Josh Hawley. Hawley is he's emerged as probably a surprise critic of this. He is drawing a hard line on protecting Medicaid as well. Medicaid seems to be the sticking point. Hawley said last month, we ought to just do what the president says, leave Medicaid alone. He recounted Trump telling him directly, don't touch it, Josh. Senator Susan Collins from Maine is another one. She's consistently opposed cuts to Medicaid, citing the detrimental effect on Maine's rural hospitals. She said Medicaid is a critically important program for Maine's healthcare system and a vital resource for many seniors, low-income families, disabled patients, and those who cannot work. She voted against the GOP's budget resolution in April and joined Hawley in backing the same Medicaid amendment. Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky is one of them. Perhaps the most likely Republican to oppose the package, mainly over the bill's inclusion of a debt ceiling hike. Paul has said, it's not conservative, I can't support it. He insisted he might reconsider if the debt ceiling provision is removed, but added that current spending cuts are imperfect and wimpy. He has a point, doesn't he? I mean, we got to get serious about cutting spending somehow. Then Senator Ron Johnson. He has sort of echoed Rand Paul's fiscal concerns, criticizing the bill for increasing the deficit first off. He said we need to be responsible, and the first goal of our budget reconciliation process should be to reduce the deficit, warning that conservatives may withhold support unless deeper spending reductions are made. Then finally, up the road from South Carolina, North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis. He is focused on energy policy. He opposes the rapid repeal of tax credits for renewable energy, warning that the move would destabilize long-term investments and job creation in his state of North Carolina. He said a wholesale repeal or determination of certain individual credits would create uncertainty, jeopardizing capital allocation, long-term project planning, and job creation. Tillis said this in a letter co-signed by Murkowski and Senator John Curtis of Utah. We got to figure out how to get it through. I understand they all have their individual concerns, but folks, you got to get it passed somehow. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. This next story is a prime example of why entertainers should stick to entertaining people rather than getting involved in politics. U2 frontman and longtime global activist Bono took a swing at the Trump administration. He has an issue with DOJ disbanding the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. He was on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, blaming the cuts for 300,000 deaths, he said. And he was swiftly fact-checked by Joe Rogan. And by the way, Elon Musk, too. Joe Rogan, Bono, and Elon Musk, evidently, I guess they were on the podcast together. I didn't quite understand how Elon Musk weighed in on this, but Joe Rogan pushed back quickly, reacting on X to a clip of the conversation. And maybe Elon Musk just commented on X. He said he's such a liar and an idiot. Musk, who of course was a champion of cuts to what he sees as a bloated foreign aid machine, pushed for major U.S. aid reforms under his DOJ program. His response ignited debate online, with conservatives cheering for overdue accountability. You had popular online commentator Cat Turd posted, "I agree 100% with Elon Musk that Bono is an idiot and a liar." One commentator also wrote, "They've made this 300,000 number up and propagandized people with it." Another X-user posted, "Bono starts off by saying it's not proven, so he's lying." Now, here's where Bono's 300,000 figure comes from. It's not confirmed deaths, but it's from a speculative model built by a lady named Brooke Nichols, who is a mathematical health modeler at Boston University. And she projects what she thinks could happen as a result of these cuts. 300,000 people haven't died. And that's what Joe Rogan was pushing back on so quickly. Nichols has said that the number is a projection, not a direct count, due to the absence of real-time tracking in many affected regions, she said. In explaining to the Washington Post, she said the biggest uncertainties in all these estimates are, number one, the extent to which countries and organizations have pivoted to mitigate the disaster, and then number two, which programs are actually still funded with funding actually flowing and which aren't. In other words, she doesn't know. It's just a nice talking point for the left, for people like Bono to repeat that because of Donald Trump and Elon Musk, 300,000 people have died. I guess they've starved to death or something. Again, people like Bono, he should just stay out of it. Now, I get it's freedom of speech, and we all have our opinions, but stick to the facts. Make sure you understand what you're saying before you say it. Here in South Carolina, an inmate is slated for execution on one of two death sentences. He has decided he will choose to die by lethal injection. This, of course, after the Supreme Court declined to require more information about execution methods last week. The execution of 57-year-old Stephen Stanko is set to take place at 6 p.m. on June 13th. He'd be the sixth execution in the state since the process resumed last September, following another state Supreme Court ruling that the firing squad and electrocution were both constitutional. 2 of those inmates selected a firing squad as they wished to die. 3 died by lethal injection. Inmates have also have the option of electrocution, which none have chosen since 2008. Attorney for Mr. Stanko, who was sentenced to death in 2 separate cases for crimes committed within 2 days of each other, asked for more information about the state's protocols for firing squad and lethal injection, arguing the most recent firing squad execution in April didn't go the way prison officials planned. Now, this is the one we told you about. They reported that the bullets did not hit his heart directly. Witnesses to the execution claimed that they heard him make a slight noise for maybe 15, 20 seconds. Now, my response at the time was very simple. The guy that was just executed, he beat his girlfriend's parents to death with a baseball bat. I suspect they made some noises when he was beating them to death, but yet these leftists who do not favor the death penalty want to complain that, well, the bullet didn't hit his heart immediately like it was supposed to. The state Supreme Court turned down this inmate's request last week, writing that the attorneys failed to prove anything went wrong during that execution or previous ones carried out using lethal injection. Again, 2 bullets struck Mikhail Mondi in the same spot in his chest, causing the 2 rounds instead of the 3 that defense attorneys expected. Prison officials and attorneys for the state said that those bullets then took the same route through Maudi's body, including striking part of his heart. But it wasn't evidently wasn't a direct hit, as his attorneys claimed it should have been. The defense attorneys hired a pathologist who compared Mondi's autopsy report to a previous one in which inmate Brad Sigmund's heart was completely destroyed, unlike in Mondi's case, where most of the damage seemed limited to other organs. You know, these attorneys, that they're getting involved in these autopsies after the fact and debating on whether or not their clients suffered. And again, they forget that each of these men, their victims suffered greatly. But anyway, back to the Stanko. His crime spree started April 7th, 2005. He strangled his girlfriend, Laura Ling, at her home in Murrells Inlet while beating and raping her 15-year-old daughter. This is according to court documents. Stanko slit the daughter's throat, left her for dead before stealing jewelry and credit cards, and left. He then went to his friend's house in Conway, just up the road. After having breakfast with his friend, Henry Turner, Stanko shot the 74-year-old in the back while he shaved in the bathroom mirror using a pillow as a silencer for his gun. Stanko then hit Turner in the head and fatally shot him in the chest. He drove Turner's truck to Columbia, where he spent an evening buying people drinks at bars before traveling to Augusta, Georgia. There, Mr. Stanko convinced a woman he was a businessman in town for the Masters golf tournament and went home with her, according to the court records. He stayed with the woman, including attending church with her, until April 12th when he left abruptly in the middle of the night. Soon after he left, the woman recognized his photo in a newspaper alongside the headline of Turner's death and called the police, who eventually captured Stanko before he left the city. During his trials, defense attorneys argued to no avail that he was insane at the time of the killings, with decreased brain functioning making him unable to understand right and wrong. A jury convicted him in 2006 of killing Ling and beating and raping her daughter. A separate jury convicted him in 2009 of killing Turner. Both juries recommended death sentences, which multiple courts have affirmed. He is now, I think, ready to be put to death, and will do so, will be put to death June the 13th, as he should be. I mean, let's face it, his defense attorneys, and I don't know who pays these people. because I doubt he has money to pay him. So I don't know if it's pro bono or if the state pays him. I don't know. But the only reason that they're trying to delay this and they're asking for information on the methods of execution is because they're trying to delay it further. You know, one recently has asked that his attorneys be fired so he could represent himself and speed up the process because he wants to stop his appeals. If I were on death row, I would want it over. That's it for today's show. Tara's up next, followed by Mike Gallagher, Bill Frady, Charlie James, Mark Levin. We're back again tomorrow for more of Sunrise Carolina at 5 a.m. and that first cup of coffee. Until then, folks, remember, God's got this. He's still in control. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.